How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today, we're going to be talking with Gina Sereno. She is from Boulder, Colorado. She's a professional triathlete, and she is currently working on getting a slot at the Olympics for this Olympic cycle coming up in 2024. I get to ask her some questions about some awesome things that she does. She's not only a professional triathlete, actually, she also works for Jet Propulsion Labs, JPL, with NASA, and has worked on a crazy mission that is going to one of the biggest asteroids in the, in the space, and the ones that we know of that we monitor and track. So anyway, I will botch some of that up if I try to talk about it too much. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Gina Sereno.
I was just swimming, and now I'm here.
Nice. How'd the swim go? How far did you swim? What was the workout?
It was like just a 4K aerobic thing.
Okay.
And it was actually good. I just got back from a race. And sometimes like when I come back from like being at sea level and then come back to altitude, I feel really bad. And so I don't know if it's like the first day I still have the like sea level oxygen somehow, but I felt good. So yeah.
Nice. Good. That's awesome. How did the race go for you?
Oh, it was not good. Super cool event. It was a World Cup in Yevon, France. And it was a pretty important event because like we have the kind of points competition to get into Yokohama. And it was a good opportunity for me, but I kind of blew it.
Yeah. How did you blow it? How so?
I didn't really position myself very well in the bike pack, and it's like such a short race where like even if you're in the pack, if you're coming off the bike like at the back of the group, there just isn't enough time over. It's like a 1 kilometer run. Like if you're 5 or 6 seconds back, even if you're running faster, it's like
really tough,
kind of too much to make up. So yeah.
Anything go well?
The first round went well. I was happy with the first round, I guess.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, then it was like a 3-round race. And I don't know, the swim was fine. Normally that's like I'm either in it or out of it because of my swim. So I was happy to like not have that hold me back. But yeah, it's just focusing on my pack riding confidence and just positioning myself better.
Yeah. What does that mean to have like pack riding confidence? Is that like you are really comfortable close quarters, like just hanging really close to people, or?
Yeah, I think it's just like you're not afraid, like if, you're not afraid to be in the mix, like in the like third or fourth row. A lot of times when I do races, I'm just more comfortable like hanging on the back because there's no one moving around me and like I'm not worried. But you pay the price certainly for being back there. And so I think, you always see like the best people are like in the front or kind of in like the second or third row, they're close to a position where, they're in the front of the race.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. The reason I ask these questions, it's super fascinating to me because I've never done like short course draft legal stuff. So it's always interesting to hear how the strategies and tactics play a key, because I've done a few Zwift races and I know my tactics are terrible because I always put more power in and I'm still way back. So yeah, it's interesting hearing kind of your experience around that.
Yeah, it's definitely, it makes you feel like even if you're strong enough, like even if you're a strong rider, like there's this other component to it. Whereas I think, in long course, it's more just like your power, right? Like how much you can hold for a certain amount of time. And so it's certainly different in that regard.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, Gina, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and allowing me to dive into your life a little bit. I guess welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, you haven't asked me any stupid questions yet, so
not yet. So
I'm waiting for 'em.
Hopefully we'll get some good ones. Yeah. Well, the first one that I would love to ask you is an introspective question. Feel free to take as long as you want to answer it, but it is, who is Gina?
I don't know what Gina is me. I don't know.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I don't really have a great answer.
Yeah. So let's take triathlon because we know you're a really good triathlete. Let's leave that over here for a second. You're introducing yourself for the first time to somebody. How do you introduce yourself?
I would just say like, hi, I'm Gina. I think I would talk about where I'm from. Like, I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
I don't know. I had like a really active childhood. My parents, like just like gave my brother and I a lot of opportunities to compete in a whole bunch of different sports. So sports have been like a really big part of my life, from a very young age. And, yeah, I'm super grateful for that. And I think it's like kind of helped me develop as a person and just like, yeah, connect with people. So yeah, I've loved like all kinds of sports since I was little, and yeah, it's just been a big part of my life. But I wouldn't say it's like kind of the only thing I'm focused on. I like, I don't know. Yeah, I think like having balance in your life is super important. And so yeah, that's like another, I guess, aspect about me. I work full time. I'm a systems engineer at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And like, I really enjoy kind of being able to balance like an athletic life with like also just like the cognitive and like mental challenges of, having a job.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're definitely going to jump into the JPL stuff because I found that stuff super interesting. And then we will talk about triathlon too. But I want to stick around for the childhood stuff for just a second longer. So what was the first sport that you ever engaged in? Because you said you did that from a pretty young age.
I don't know if you call it a sport, but I actually grew up dancing. I did ballet.
Awesome.
I think that was the first thing I did. And so, yeah, my twin brother and I did that. We did like everything together. And so, yeah, we would go from like ballet lessons to like in the summertime, then we would go to swimming lessons, and then after that we'd do tennis. And that was like our summer routine. And then in the winter we would do ballet, and then my mom would pack us like our little snacks and we would eat in the car, and we would put on like our ski boots. And in the winter we would go like skiing kind of in the mid-morning. And then, yeah, it was just like a bunch of different sports like jam-packed together.
Yeah,
that was like
wow.
Literally my childhood.
Yeah. Are your parents pretty athletic? Like, did they come from an athletic background as well?
They are very athletic. Yeah, they both race triathlons. I don't know. It's just been like part of our life. Like we did a lot of family activities like that, growing up, and it was just, a way for us to all be together.
Yeah. Who came first? You or your sibling? How many minutes you guys apart?
Yeah, so we're twins. His name is Jeff.
What's going on?
No.
Sorry.
That's great. I love that.
He just got back from biking, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my twin brother and I, we were born, I don't know, maybe like an hour apart, but we were born like on either side of midnight, so we actually have different birthdays, which is sort of unique
really?
for twins.
Yeah, that is super unique. So when you guys celebrated growing up, did you still do them on the same day, or did you do it every, like one day and then the next?
No, we did them on the same day.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, you would think my mom would be like, oh, I'm going to give each of them their own separate day. And no, that was not the case. She was just like, one and done.
Yeah. Did you ever get frustrated by that?
No, I mean, I think, we grew up doing like literally everything together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what are some of the like coolest memories you have of you? And what is your sibling's name, your brother?
His name is Jeff.
Okay.
The coolest memories I have.
Yeah. Yeah. Or some wild ones. I mean, I know me and my siblings have some wild stories, but maybe you're nicer to each
I mean,
other.
I certainly have embarrassing ones. I don't know if I'll share any of those. I have like,
Please do.
I mean, stupid things that we did. When we were little, we had this like club called the Explorers Club, and only him and I were part of this club. And it was basically just a way for like us to compete and like challenge each other at like, I don't know,
Anything
stupid
and
things
everything.
that kids do. So like, we'd be like hiking, and he would say like, oh, you can't be in the Explorers Club if you don't like jump across this river. Like you have to do it without like getting your feet wet, or like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just like constantly like challenging each other and like doing competitive things. I think that was a key component of my childhood.
Yeah. Are you still just as close with Jeff now as you were when you were a kid?
I think like there's, an aspect of not living in the same house. So, I don't like,
Sure.
we don't talk every day. But yeah, like when we're back together, it feels like we don't miss a beat.
Yeah. Where's he at right now?
He lives in the Bay Area. He's in San Francisco. He got married like about a year ago, and him and his
cool.
wife just they had a little baby girl. Her name's Eliana. Wow. She's like the cutest baby ever. She looks exactly like Jeff, but she's a girl. So yeah, I'm super excited to see her grow up and just kind of see what she's like as a person. As a baby, she's like apparently very difficult. I don't know. She screams and cries a lot. I've been told.
Wow. Yeah, that's a cool experience. That means a little bit more to me because my sister just had, and this is my first niece or nephew, sorry. She just had her first baby like this past week, and I have a lot of my friends, because I'm 31, a lot of my friends have had kids and whatnot, but her having that for the first time, and then she was like, you should come to the hospital, and I didn't know if she was going to invite me or not, but she invited me, and I was actually tearing up on the way over there, and then I saw him for the first time, and I had like this connection with a baby that I'd never thought I'd have with someone before. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah, I'm not a person who's like, oh, your baby's so cute. Like I've just honestly never really felt the connection to a little infant. And like I think seeing one that's actually part of your family is like you actually do feel that connection much more. Yeah, it's a pretty neat thing. So are you like excited, I guess, to go there for every holiday now, or like how do you guys get to visit? We went out to the Bay Area when she was first born, and then we saw her again kind of, what time was that? Maybe in September, like at the, or no, maybe towards the end of the year. No, maybe in like December or something. But yeah, it's just like she's like a new part of the family. So it's kind of like, all of these different like things you're doing now because, you have like new parents and a child. Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah. Different season of life for sure. That's really neat. Mm-hmm. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? I am 28 years old. 28. Okay, good deal. Yeah. So let's talk about you going from, I guess, like elementary into middle school and then maybe even approaching high school. You're still doing a lot of sports, I would imagine. When did you start to kind of hone in on, oh, maybe I'll do this triathlon thing for my life or my job, or was that ever not a part of your thoughts for a while? Yeah, that didn't really start until like later in life after I graduated college. I think when I was in middle school, elementary school, I was still dancing, playing soccer, playing tennis, swimming. I didn't even start running really until high school. Really? So in high school, I remember I went out for the cross country team and I did cross country in the fall. And then it was like this big decision in my life. I was like, am I going to run track or am I going to play soccer? I was like, I love soccer so much. And so I ended up playing soccer my freshman and sophomore years. And then I switched to do track my junior and senior years. And at that point, I was like pretty committed to running. I was like, this is what I want to do. If I can go run in college, that'd be really awesome. And so that sort of motivated me to give up soccer in lieu of track. And, it was a ton of fun playing soccer. Like it's a team sport. You have like all of those fun dynamics, whereas, track running in general is more individual. So that aspect of it was, made it challenging for me to give up, but I'm certainly glad like I put the time in, to like developing my running both, in cross country and on the track. I think both of those are really important. If you want to be successful running long term, you kind of have to, it's one of those sports you have to like do, you can't like take breaks. Yeah, for sure. So you're moving into the running, but do you ever miss, or did you miss the soccer, the ballet, or any of those other things? Did you ever think like, maybe I should have went another direction? I mean, I think all of those things are more fun. Like when you just like look at it like, oh, what do I want to do for fun? Like it's probably like play tennis or go to the park and play soccer or like go to a dance class or something. But I don't know. I think like I was always drawn to like the really competitive side of running and just the like one-on-one, like I'm competing, like I'm representing myself. This is like everything I can do in this moment. And it's like, it's totally individual. And so I think I was always really drawn to that aspect of running. Whereas, you're playing a team sport and there's like, it's a lot more fun and you have teammates who you can rely on. But you're not like getting as much out of yourself individually. So I think that's why I was always really drawn to running.
I also would maybe argue that the Explorer Club may have prepped and primed you, because it's like it sounds like in a very individualized, competition-based club, so that you're, when the things you're doing now, like they are very individualized. Do you think that there's any truth to that, or nah?
I don't know. I think it was just like a fun thing my brother and I kind of came up with.
Yeah. So what was college like for you then? Because you're moving up, you decide, okay, or you got the opportunity, I guess, to run in college competitively.
Yeah, I was a walk-on at Michigan. My like high school running times were pretty good, but not good enough to get like a scholarship at the Division I level. So, but I wanted to go to the University of Michigan, and like I was happy just to be able to walk on the team, and got into the College of Engineering. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a great fit. Like big university, like a lot of opportunity. There'll be a lot of other people who are really good. I think in our recruiting class, we had like the number one runner out of high school that year. So I was like, okay, no matter what, if I go here, like sink or swim, like I'm going to get better as a runner. And that was really important to me. So yeah, I walked on the team my freshman year and just had a ton of fun. Like the people that you are surrounded with at a big university like that, I think for me, it like really challenged me and kind of brought out like the best. Like I don't think if I had gone to like a smaller program, I don't know if I would have been like as motivated or just as like pushed to the same level that I was able to get to at Michigan.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any level of like between walk-ons? Because this is relatively new to me. After interviewing several people, I hear about the concept of like, whether you get a full ride or whatever, you get scholarship or you're, I guess, a walk-on. Was there any level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Looking down on the walk-ons versus scholarships on those types of teams? No, because
especially on like in a running program, the majority of people aren't on scholarships. So like, I think our recruiting class was maybe like 10 or 12 my freshman year. And there was like four freshmen who got scholarships. And that's just kind of the way it goes. There's certainly like opportunities to get scholarships as like you progress. And if you're getting better, they'll like allocate money differently. So it just depends on, what's available in the program. But I think like, it's like, you're competing as a team, especially in cross country, and then on track, like you kind of want each other to do well, and like you're working together. Like you want, your top 7 to be a group of people who are all running together. So no one's really that stuck up about it, I don't think. At least in my experience at Michigan. Maybe it's different at other programs. But
Thanks for answering that. So why Michigan? Why'd you want to go there?
I'm from Wisconsin. I'm from Madison. So Ann Arbor is pretty much like the like closest thing to that you can get.
Yeah.
And I really liked growing up in Madison, and that was one of the other school I was looking at, probably the other top school I would have gone to. And I just, I'd grown up there. I'd lived there for 18 years and I wanted to kind of branch out, but I didn't want something drastically different. And so, it has a fantastic engineering program. I knew I wanted to go to the College of Engineering. Has a good running program. So it was like, okay, this checks all the boxes. Dream school.
Yeah. So when did engineering start to become an interest for you?
Well, my dad's an engineer. I think I've always just liked like problem solving, kind of fixing things, kind of drawn to like just math and science. It just always kind of made sense. I don't know.
Yeah. So then you were in school, like in college, you're doing the engineering thing, which is, I'm sure, not an easy program, and you're running, I'm sure you're traveling. How did you struggle with finding time management, like to be able to get all those things done?
Um, I mean, I think I look back on college and I'm like, wow, that was the hardest time of my life. I don't think life
Oh,
could
really?
get any harder. Um, just because, yeah, like you're trying to balance like a full course load with, yeah, competing in collegiate athletics. Like you said, there's practice every day, sometimes
Hmm.
twice a day. And then, you go to your classes, and then you go to your evening practice, and then you like eat, and then you're basically doing homework like until midnight, and then you sleep, and then you wake up at 7. So it's just like it was pretty nonstop for my college years, and that was really hard. I think I certainly didn't do as well in school as like I think I could have if I hadn't been running, but I don't think I would have been as happy or just like, yeah, like I don't think I would have had like as much of an enjoyable experience if I hadn't been doing both things. So I think, yeah, there's certainly some give and takes. Like there's always trade-offs.
Hmm.
And yeah, to me, it was worth it.
Yeah. I imagine that your grades weren't terrible. Do you mind sharing what your GPA was, like, especially if you're working for JPL?
I think I had like a 3.1. Like it's not that good.
Okay. So then
Yeah.
how did you get the job with JPL then as you're moving out and looking for a job? Was that your first job, like into the career world?
Yeah, yeah. So I basically got in a really long line at a career fair, and it's like, here's my resume,
Yeah.
here's my 3.1 GPA, um, and yeah, I think I just hit it off with the recruiter I was talking to, and yeah, we set up an interview, and yeah, I think I don't know, just like explaining the kinds of projects I was working on, and yeah, like I worked in a research lab in college as well. And I think like some of those projects were pretty interesting to the people at JPL. And so they invited me out to do an interview. And so that was my first time going to Pasadena. And it was like a very long process. They have like you go out and you prepare a presentation,
Mm.
and you kind of talk about like one key project that you were working on, and then you go through like a interview process with all of the hiring managers, and so it's like literally like 8 interviews packed into one
Wow.
day.
Oh,
And
that
it's
sounds
just like,
exhausting.
yeah, like I was like, oh, can I have water by the end of it? Like you're just talking so much. And
Hmm.
so anyways, that it was a very stressful day, but yeah, I ended up getting hired into the systems engineering division at JPL, and I've been working there for I think almost 6 years. It'll be 6 years in August of this
Wow.
year, and yeah, I've just really loved it. It's like it doesn't feel like a corporate kind of environment. It almost feels like a college setting. People are very keen to talk about what they're working on. It's just like you can ask anyone anything, and they'll like talk your ear off because like the people who work there are so good, and they're just like they love kind of everything that they're working on. So I
Yeah.
like that aspect of it a lot. And yeah.
So what do you do, like on a day-to-day basis? Like, what is Gina's job?
Yeah, so I work on a mission called the Psyche mission. We launched in October of this year.
Oh, congrats.
And I specifically work on the autonomy and fault protection design on the spacecraft. And so what that is it's similar to kind of like in your car, all of the sensors and components that can autonomously detect problems and alert you, like your anti-lock braking system will kick in if you're sliding on ice without you having to physically press the brake, right?
Hmm.
So the spacecraft has all of these functions it has to be able to execute over the course of the mission. And if any of those things go wrong, there are all these sensors on board the spacecraft that will kind of alert the flight software and say, hey, this is a problem. This is like an unexpected telemetry point, or this is a failure we're seeing. We need to like go enter this safe state. We need to make sure like we're power positive, thermally safe, and like we need to point like the antennas and call home and like say, hey, we had a problem. So all of that like autonomy is what I work on. And I really like it because you get to learn kind of like about all of the subsystems and how they function at a high level, like nominally. And then, on the FP team, the fall protection team, we get to be the people who are like, okay, if any of these key things aren't working, this is a problem, and we need to like be able to save the spacecraft and make sure, we can connect with the ground and figure out the problem.
So it's been about 6 months since that launch. Have there been any issues that you guys have detected that you've had to work through?
There have. Fortunately, the launch went really well. There wasn't anything that's like a pretty critical event. So, we launch in a stowed configuration, and we immediately have to deploy the solar arrays so that they can get pointed to the sun and charge the battery and make sure the spacecraft has power. So all of that went really well. And then kind of the first time you're in space, there's always uncertainty about the thermal environment. So there were like a couple thermal problems when we launched, which is pretty standard, just because that's like a really hard thing to get right, and you kind of expect that to happen, I would say. So that was the first thing. And then, it's been mostly smooth. We had one safing event, which we exercised like a light touch safe mode, and we're just able to quickly diagnose the problem and figure it out. So there haven't been a ton of problems, it's a good thing. It makes my life kind of boring, but it's been really good so far.
So you're part of your job, like your daily to-do list is monitoring these systems, checking whatever latest beam report came in from the, like, these are where the stupid questions come in.
Yeah, no, it's not quite a beam report, but what it is like we downlink data from the radio, and it gets processed through the deep space network, and then that gets all like telemetered to JPL, and so then we can see like, oh, what's our system mode, like where are the arrays pointed, like are all of our devices like healthy, were there any problems? So part of my role now is on the ground operations team, like assessing telemetry, reporting on the status of that telemetry, and just sharing like, okay, fault protection is nominal, or this unexpected thing happened and we're looking into why this happened. Before launch, I was sort of on the development side, where you're actually like, creating all of the flight software, testing it, verifying and validating that it works as expected. And then after we launch, there isn't a ton of work to do new development, though we are going to be uplinking like 2 new versions of flight software. So there's sort of that aspect of development still exists, but then also half of my job now is doing the day-to-day operations.
How long will this mission last?
It's a long mission. It's solar electric propulsion, so it's slow. So it'll take like 6 years to get to the Psyche asteroid.
And it's going there for the mission of doing what?
The science so this asteroid is really special. It's thought to have a lot of metal, and we're trying to kind of study how it formed and understand, okay, like, is this the key thing about this asteroid is that they think it used to be an exoplanet, and what's left is like potentially the core of a planet.
Interesting.
And
so it's a
by
big
going
asteroid.
it's a huge asteroid. It's one of the biggest ones. And so going there kind of presents a opportunity to study something similar to the core of Earth, or the core of another planet. Obviously, you can't drill to the center of the Earth and study it. Not yet. Going to this asteroid, I'm not super involved in the science, but like the key mission objectives are to determine like the dipole moment, the magnetic field characterization, the surface topography, like basically just study this asteroid, learn about how it was formed, and understand if it used to be an exoplanet or not.
Yeah. When are we getting to the asteroid? Like how many more years?
I think 6 years. So
That's
is it?
So far.
2024, 2030, I think, as arrival.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe 2029. I don't know the exact date.
Do you plan on being around for that?
I certainly hope to be. I don't know if I don't know if I'll work on Psyche for 6 more years, kind of once we get through the 2 flight software updates and that development. And
Pretty
then
low maintenance.
Yeah, the cruise, like the actual cruise thrusting to get to the asteroid there shouldn't hopefully be a ton of work, but if there are like anomaly scenarios or faults that happen, then, they would call us and say, hey, fault protection, like what happened? We need you guys to help kind of resolve the failure.
Okay, interesting. So this is considered a probe, or does it have a different name?
It's a spacecraft. It looks like a satellite. Like if you saw it, you would think, oh, that's a satellite. It's basically the size of a car, and it has 2 really big solar arrays. There's like 5 panels on each of them. They're about the size of like a tennis court. So on each side. So it's like this, and then it has these solar arrays that it like articulates and points.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
Yeah.
So who launched this spacecraft? Was it NASA, or was it done through a private company?
It was SpaceX was the like launch provider. But it was launched from the Cape. It was a SpaceX rocket, Falcon Heavy.
Falcon Heavy.
And but it's a NASA mission.
Okay, cool. So tell me about this deep space network. That sounded really interesting. Like, who owns that? Because this is where the radio comes in. It gets dissected. Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, JPL operates and maintains the deep space network. It's basically like every spacecraft. It's 3 antennas like positioned at different locations on Earth. There's one in Goldstone, there's one in Canberra, Australia, and there's one in Madrid, Spain. Goldstone in California. And so they're like, if you think about those 3 places kind of at any point in time during the day or the night, you can get a downlink to like one of those 3 stations, depending on where you are. And so, all of the data that's coming from all kinds of like satellites and spacecrafts are getting processed through the deep space network and then like transported to wherever that data goes.
Yeah, super fascinating. So are you big into sci-fi stuff? Do you like sci-fi since it's sort of in your industry?
I wouldn't say I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like a sci-fi nerd. You could probably like name a lot of things I wouldn't have any idea about.
Okay. Are you like going to watch sci-fi movies, or do you like have a favorite YouTube channel that you follow that's kind of along these, maybe not sci-fi, but I don't know, space related that you follow? No, you just train, and then you're
I don't have a lot of free time. Like I don't. Yeah.
If you did have free time, what would you do? Like if you were no longer able to do triathlon tomorrow, and you still have this job, what would you do?
I don't know. I mean, I certainly would be active. Like, I think, if I'm not like training for a triathlon, maybe I'd be like running competitively, or like if I'm not running competitively, like maybe I would just do different kinds of sports for fun. I would probably join like an intramural tennis league, or like do dance classes. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does triathlon or sport give you that would keep driving you back to do something physical?
I think like I just like the challenge, kind of the like, okay, this is me today, like where can I be tomorrow, how much better can I get? Triathlon was like really difficult for me. It's been really difficult for me since I started, like with a background in running. I swam growing up, but I like never learned like kind of the technical skills you need to be like an actual good swimmer. So like that aspect of just like, okay, this is like a totally new thing I'm going to learn how to do, I think was part of what drove me to kind of keep doing the sport. Yeah.
So with triathlon, if you had to explain it to someone, and you're not allowed to say swimming, biking, and running, but you're going to explain it to them as in what it offers you, how would you explain it to somebody?
I would say it's an outlet to be competitive.
Okay. So competition means a lot to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why?
I think it's just fun. Like you're seeing like how much can you get out of yourself. Like you're also pushing other people to be better. Like it's individual, and it's also like collaborative. Like, I think there's something yeah, there's always been something fun about that to me.
Yeah. So how do you value yourself?
These are such weird questions. I don't like, how do you value yourself?
Yeah. You're asking me?
Yeah.
So I value myself in so I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a pretty emotional person. I'm also not super. I enjoy a lot of engineering things. Like I follow a lot of Veritasium, if you know who that is, or Smart Every Day, or Everyday Astronaut. Like, so those are some things you maybe have heard of. I follow a lot of those things because they bring a lot of like interest into my life. But I'm not super engineering mindset. I can pick things apart in my brain, but if you ask me to go and like figure out like a legit hard engineering problem, I'm gonna be like, I have no idea how to do it. But I find a lot of interest in those things. So how I value myself is in the amount of, I think, knowledge I'm able to gain over time, and then hopefully that knowledge helps me to become a nicer person who can teach other people. So I get a lot of joy in life by getting to ask people questions about their lives and watch them think about it and then share it back to me and then see how it might help them to grow. So yeah, these questions aren't super easy, and this may be like the totally wrong thing to say, but I have interviewed some engineers, and these questions usually make some of them pretty uncomfortable because it's like, oh, I don't really like thinking that way. So
No, it's not that I don't like thinking that way. I just like I could tell you the things that like have value to me, but
yeah,
I don't know if like I don't know if that's the same thing as saying like this is how I value myself.
yeah,
Like it's a weirdly phrased question, or
yeah.
it doesn't make sense intuitively to me.
Yeah.
But maybe it makes sense to other people, and like I don't know why it wouldn't make
No,
sense
fair enough.
to me.
I think actually it is kind of a poorly phrased question. What I was thinking about was getting around to, because you obviously derive a lot of value in your life from your work and what you do, the way you talk about it. You're very passionate about it. Obviously, you do triathlon because you like that competition, that drive. You want to better yourself physically, mentally. So my thought is you probably value yourself and your ability to go fast. Because when you first started telling me a little bit about, like this weekend's or this last race you did, you're like, oh, it went really bad. And you weren't like super pumped about it. And you didn't necessarily like talking about it. So part of me is like, oh, well, she probably values herself to some degree based on how well she performs. And so I'm thinking, well, I wonder if she would relay that and say that kind of information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think I like assign value to myself based on how well I perform. I think I'm certainly proud of myself when I do well and like when I feel like I've executed something well, but I'm not like, oh, I'm a failure because, I had this bad race. Like I understand triathlon's like kind of a long lead time sport. I think if you look at the best people in our sport, they're the people who have, 80, 90 World Series races under their belts. I've been racing for 6 years. I have like 30 races, so it's just like a different, you gain experience over a long period of time, and like there are going to be ups and downs along the way. And I think I understand that like it's not like this linear progression. And I think like the longer you dwell on like bad performances or good performances, that doesn't help you long term to become a better athlete. It's more in like the day to day, like, okay, I didn't race well this weekend. Like I'm still going to try hard in training this week. Like it's not going to define me for like the next 3 months or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I value like working hard. I think I value having balance in my life. I think I value like being able to have like an active lifestyle and just have like all of the opportunities that I have. I feel like so grateful, to be able to race, to be able to compete internationally. Those are things like not everyone gets to do. And I'm like so grateful like to even be able to do that, like be in this position in life. So yeah.
Yeah, great answer. So who are in your life in this world of triathlon are kind of like the big voices or the people you go to kind of bounce things off of or to check where you're at and just like think about how to grow?
Mostly Chase.
Yeah?
Pretty much only Chase, yeah.
Really?
No, I think when I started the sport, it was, my coach, Barb Lindquist. She's an Olympian for the U.S. She's a really good swimmer, someone I've like looked up to for a long time, and helped me get involved in triathlon, and coached me for like the first 5 years of my career. And just someone who's like such a good role model. Like, you look at the way she kind of plans out her life and all the things that she has accomplished, and it's very easy to see like why she's been as successful as she has been. And so, I think like having her doing my programming, I was like very motivated. Like, okay, this is someone I respect. This is someone like I want to work really hard to like impress. I want to show her everything I can do, and I want to show her like how much better I can get. And like when there were struggles along the way, she was always like just very supportive, and kind of helped me take a step back and look at the big picture. Like, okay, this is going to be the progression. Like, you're not starting as a good swimmer. Like, you're going to have to get a lot better in the water to even be in a position where you're like hanging on to the back of a bike pack. So Barb, I think, was the first person who really helped me in triathlon develop. And she got me like to such a good point in my career, and I'm just like so grateful to have been able to work with her for such a long time. And then I think Chase, when we started dating like 3 years ago, just immediately like I was like, okay, this is someone who's been in the sport a lot longer than I have. He kind of knows the things that I'm struggling with. He like struggled with them before I did, and he can help me work through pretty much any problem. He's very like organized and analytical, and can pretty much instantly pick out like anything I'm doing wrong and say like, hey, this was really great, but you kind of need to work on this.
Was that ever hard to take in the beginning, or you seem like you take critique pretty well?
I wouldn't say that, actually. I
Really?
think that's something I struggle with.
Really?
Yeah. But I don't know. I think like you kind of learn like how to give and receive feedback. And so, I think like he does it in a way that, he understands like how to communicate with me. And I think we have a good relationship in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it takes, any relationship, I feel like it takes time, because I've been married for going on 7 years, and my wife still will tell me stuff, and I have to really like, she does this because she loves me type of a thing, or, take it in stride, because I can take critical feedback, I think, from people generally well, but for whatever reason, when it comes from loved ones or family, it's like, I don't know, a little part within me, the pride comes out, I guess, but yeah. So how did you meet Mr. Chase McQueen?
We met in Park City through triathlon. We both went there for like sort of a summer kind of training camp environment set up right when COVID started, like in June of 2020, I guess.
Yeah, tough. But what was the first interaction like? Was it he saw you and he said, "Hey, babe," or were you noticing him first? Like, what was the interaction?
No, I think we technically met before that, just sort of through mutual friends and triathlon. I think we actually went bowling.
Oh, really? Like
a big group of people, yeah. And that was fun. And I think just being kind of in the same environment over COVID, like you start to like, I don't know, just learn more about each other. And I don't know.
Yeah. So did he approach you first and say, "Hey, let's go on a date"?
No. He said we went to Whole Foods to get groceries together.
Nice. That's the best first date ever. I love Whole Foods.
Yeah. I remember he was like asking me if I liked like just very basic things that everyone likes.
Do you like chocolate? Do you like breathing?
Yeah, we'd be like walking by like sparkling water. He'd be like, "Do you like sparkling water?" And I'd be like, "Yeah."
That was Chase's pickup lines. He was really struggling with things to say. That's hilarious.
No, I mean, I don't know. What else do you say when you're in a grocery store? Like, it was fun.
Oh, that's so cool. So you guys have been dating now for 3 years. So you know each other quite well, I would say. I asked Chase if I should ask you any specific questions, and he had one he wanted me to ask you.
Oh
So,
gosh.
what are his best and worst traits? And we can start with worst first. That way we're ending on a good note.
Oh, okay. It's sort of like his best and his worst traits. They like present themselves in like their best light and their worst light depending on the scenario. So I would say like
Okay.
he has a very good ability to like focus on things very deeply, and like he likes to like finish things he starts, and he doesn't really like back down. So if there's a problem that like is truly too difficult to solve on his own, like he will just keep working at it
Just
until
hitting
like
his head against the wall.
yeah, like and so yeah, like it can be, it's this weird like unity thing. Like it you know, that's like a really good skill to have in terms of like, you know, he doesn't procrastinate things, like he gets things done on time because he like has this immense like drive and focus, but then also like he can't like separate himself from problems enough to be like, okay, this isn't working, I need to like pivot and try something new. So yeah, it's funny watching him like work through challenges sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think he would say your best and worst traits are?
uh I could answer this. I don't know why it's taking me a long time right now. I mean, he would say like, okay, I work hard. I have good time management skills, probably. I'd say those, yeah, I think are good traits. I think, yeah, what did he tell you?
He didn't
You
tell me
know all these
anything. It's actually kind of a bummer because I wish that I had interviewed or I could interview him again afterwards so I could get questions from you, because it's like one of the funnest things about this podcast is having people on who are dating or married or whatever, and then you can kind of
Yeah.
ask these questions back and forth. But I didn't ask him what your best and worst are. That was kind of off the cuff. Well, we can go on
No,
without
that's a
worst
good
if it's too-
question.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you if I think of it.
Okay, sounds good. So he also was saying told me to ask about your Michigan career, which we've obviously talked about, but he wanted to see what you would say if he said he's the bigger Michigan fan. Are you the bigger Michigan fan, or is he the bigger Michigan fan?
He's certainly a huge sports fan. Like he can tell you like about F1 racing, he can tell you about golf, he loves basketball, he loves football, like he knows like everything about like even the most niche sports. Like not
Wow.
that cycling is a niche sport in like the triathlon community, but like globally, you know, not a lot of people follow cycling and can name like all the riders in the pro tour, and
Yeah,
he like
yeah.
you know, knows all the teams, knows like the
Wow.
10th riders like on each team. And so, yeah, when it comes to like Michigan, I'm obviously a Michigan fan. Like I'll say go blue to anybody I see wearing a Block M, but I think he's also like, yeah, become a Michigan fan kind of because of me. And it's really fun to like share that together.
Yeah, that's awesome. What other things do you guys share together? Like, what do you do to stay connected? Because you guys are super busy, obviously, both traveling and racing, I guess even all over the world. Like, how do you continue to further that relationship with all of that extra stuff?
Yeah, I think like he supports me in so many ways, and like so that goes like a really long way. Just like helping me prepare for races, like preparing a ton of meals. He does like just so many things, working on my bike, like unpacking it, like
Yeah.
just like so many things that help me in little ways. And so like that's just like immensely helpful, having someone who's like that supportive of you. And I think like we certainly spend a lot of time training together when we're able to. We've kind of, he has his group in Boulder, and I have my own group now. So before I was working with like Ian O'Brien, I was able to do like more of the things on his training plan because I was like sort of more individual, and I could do things at the times that I wanted. And so now I'm working with Ian, so I don't get to do as much training with Chase, which is sort of sad because that was like how we used to spend a ton of time together. And now it's maybe a little bit less than what it used to be. But I think it's also good, like we each kind of have our own outlets, despite we're still doing the same sport and kind of doing the same training. But yeah, I think outside of training and working, just cooking together is really fun. Like we like going to the grocery store together, like just like
throwing it
kind
back
of the
to Whole
daily
Foods.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite thing that you guys like to cook together?
We actually try and mix it up like very frequently. Like we'll come up with kind of a plan for the week and say like, like out of the 7 meals, like maybe 5 of them will be things we normally cook. And then like we'll try something really random, like some weird recipe. We tried making like succotash one time, which is like this like vegetable, like garden like thing. And it had okra in it. And neither of us had really made okra before. Ooh. And I don't know if you've had okra.
I have. You have to make it a very specific way for it to even be palatable.
It's so gross. We did not make it right.
It's like straight up snot. Yeah,
it was like just like liquidy. So yeah, sometimes those experiments go well and they're like fun and we're like, oh, this is such a good meal. And other times we make
oh, that's disgusting. Yeah. So what are you like focused on and excited for in the future to come?
Very excited, like to keep working on different missions at JPL. Psyche's obviously like sort of the work on Psyche is wrapping up. I've been working on it for almost 6 years at this point. I've learned a lot and I'm really excited to like move on to the next mission and apply everything that I've learned and like honestly do a better job than I did kind of as I was, learning like in my early career years. So I don't know what that will be. The next like big Class A mission is the Mars sample return mission. And it's kind of a hard time at JPL. There is like a bunch of funding cuts to that mission. So I don't know like what that will look like and how scaled up or scaled down it will be. But I'd be super excited to work on that because that'll be the first mission where like we're collecting these samples on Mars, right? And they have to get delivered back to Earth somehow. So it's this super complicated.
Yeah.
It's like a lander. It has to land on Mars. It has to go like get the samples from the other rover, and then it has to like launch off of Mars and get back to Earth. So it's just insanely complicated. And I'd be super excited to work on that in the future. In terms of triathlon, I think like the big goal is competing at the Olympics. So like the qualification cycle right now, there's one more opportunity to qualify in Yokohama. And I really hope to get on the start list for that event. And then, looking forward towards 2028 in Los Angeles. That's another really big goal for me.
Yeah. With the JPL stuff, is this that Mars sample return? Is that with the recent rover that's been up there? Or that landed somewhat recently, like in the past couple months or something?
So the most recent Mars mission was in 2020. And so clearly it's been up there for quite a while. There's like a helicopter called Ingenuity that it launched with. And that was like the first time we've flown anything on another planet. So that was a very big milestone. And then, the rover itself is up there busy like collecting samples and putting them in little vials for the next mission to go up there, get the samples, retrieve them, and bring them back to Earth. But there was big news recently. Because kind of this new mission was promised a certain budget, and the like congressional leaders basically decided that was way over the amount they wanted to spend. So there's a lot of back and forth there, and it affected JPL really negatively in terms of workforce. We just had like an 8% layoff.
Sheesh. How many employees work for that organization?
I think we laid off like 800 people or so.
Okay.
I think it's around like 5,000 or 6,000 at JPL.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a big lab.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. So on the triathlon side, obviously in 5 years, you would love to be, I guess, preparing or wrapping up the LA games. That's kind of like the big, obviously you want to go to this year for this, but then the next election or the next Olympic cycle, you would love to kind of finish that off. After you get to that point, do you think that you would be done with triathlon, or would you want to move over to like more long course stuff? I know that's really far away.
Yeah, I don't even doing an Olympic distance race feels long, so I don't know if you'll ever see my name on like an Ironman start list.
Yeah.
But who knows? You know,
Never
like
say never.
never say never. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be fun. Yeah, I'll just have to see.
Yeah. So what keeps you going when you have setbacks or like really tough moments, whether that's work or training, racing? Like, is there something that you go back to that kind of keeps you grounded and is a source of motivation?
Mm, I don't know that there's like one thing that I'm like, oh, this is gonna make me feel better or like motivate me. I think like I get pretty sad about the things that I care about,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think just like processing those emotions and like recognizing, okay, like I'm feeling sad right now. It's not going to last forever, but like just like allowing myself to, like feel those things. And then, eventually the next day I'll wake up and be like, okay, it's time to move on. Like I don't want to be sad forever. Like I can get past this.
Have you always held that kind of a mindset?
No. I think it just helps to be positive. Like, I think that's a really important thing. So, like, if things aren't going well, trying to like reframe it, like, okay, I had this setback, but it could have been this. Like, it's not as bad as it could be. Like, I'm still fine. I'll be okay. It's just a race, or it's just one meeting at work, or it's just, like, it's not the end of the world. So, like, kind of step out of whatever bad thing has happened and just like reframe it helps for me.
Yeah. Good deal. So I do have a stupid question for you. You obviously are familiar with a lot of things, space and engineering. So when somebody is like, oh, the earth is flat, how do you respond? Or better yet, is the earth flat?
Well, I think you know the answer to that. Do you want me to say something like for shock value? Like, obviously the earth is not flat.
Well, how would you prove that to somebody? Or do you even try? I mean, have you ever had anyone kind of try to convince you? Because those people do exist.
I know those people exist. I haven't had that experience where someone's been like, oh, let's fight about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if you just think about it, like, to me, it seems really obvious. There's so many, like, if you're flying from one point to another, like, you can fly all the way around the world. You're not gonna just like ever reach the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
really.
There's a lot of them. Yeah. What always kind of blew me away was just following with SpaceX or whoever, some of these more popular companies or JPL or whatever. You think about how many people would have to be employed and like not only with the work that they're doing, but like in the great scheme to prove that the earth is round. Like you're talking about tens of thousands of people. That was the thing that always kind of blew me away. So it's just wild. Although
Yeah, it
there
is
are
crazy.
some arguments that kind of make me think like, oh wow, that is kind of interesting. I haven't thought of it that way, but
What arguments make you think that?
oh, that's a really good question now that you're putting me on the spot. I am not a professional rehearser of flat earth theory. And honestly, right now, they're all leaving me, so I have to get back with you on that. But my flat earth selling points are not ironed out very well. But I do have some friends who I believe, and I do call them friends, who have entertained the ideas and have had some very interesting questions that they post. But I'll have to get back with you on that one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's unfortunate. So one last question for you. If somebody was wanting to be a pro triathlete and be a professional outside of the sport, which at least to your level, it doesn't seem like it is a very common thing because you're working, would it be considered a full-time job, right? With JPL?
I do work a full-time job.
Yeah. So that and balancing that with being a professional athlete that's racing all over the world obviously takes a lot. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody who wants to pursue that type of a life?
I think you just have to have the understanding that it's going to take a really long time to get to the level you want to be at. And I mean, for everyone, that answer is different depending on your background. But for me, at least, like when I started triathlon, I was like, okay, I basically am only good at running. Like, I'm not good at swimming. I'm not good at biking. If I want to be really good, like, I have to find a way to make everything I'm trying to do achievable. And also, like, I have to be happy doing it. And so I think, like, I would tell someone trying to do the same thing, like, yeah, like, make your life balanced. Like, do the things you like if they make you happy. Like, I think you'll make time for the things that you want to do. Like, there isn't really a limitation if you're thinking like, okay, I want to do all of these things in my day. Like, you're gonna figure out a way to do them. So yeah, I think just having the perspective that, like, it's going to be hard, and, like, you can't just, like, expect it to come easily, and you have to be able to, like, put in the time and the work. But I think it does pay off, like, in the long run.
Yeah. Good deal. Thank you so much for offering that advice. I'm sure it will help somebody somewhere. And thank you so much for coming on and allowing me to ask some not so awesomely phrased questions and some stupid ones and maybe hopefully some okay ones.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you again to Gina for coming on the podcast and for working with me on some of my illy phrased questions. Definitely still learning on this podcast journey and how to ask questions that are most effective and obviously most meaningful and easy to answer for the guests. So thank you for dealing with me on that. And also, just wanted to say, if you are listening to this podcast for the first time, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind, wherever you are listening or watching, leaving us a comment, subscribing, leaving us a review, asking any questions on the Spotify platform, any of those, that would be super awesome. If you'd also like to stay in contact with us, you can also sign up for our newsletter at stupidquestions.show. You can scroll all the way down and enter your email, or all the way at the top of the website. There's a link that allows you to sign up for the newsletter there. To leave you is never an easy thing, but I want to leave you with these final words. Just remember, whatever you're doing and whatever you want to do, it takes time and it takes work. See you in the next one.